Google has sent me a thing that I can be one of the first to use their new AI writing software.
I saw you post a thing about that.
I did not accept.
Yeah.
I don't like that idea. And why are we doing this? Why are we making it so people who can't write can be great because they're not actually writing, and then us who are trying to be writers now have to compete against fake writers?
And the thing is, like, most of the time when you check out those things, they're like for dog shit anyways.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like those, like, they can be funny, if you put in the right like key things that searched in there. But like even like the Seinfeld Dragon Ball Z thing that I sent you a couple weeks ago, like it was like okay, like, but I don't know.
Well, here's my issue. So if you have someone who's not a good writer or can't really write at all, and they just input their Chat GPT, Google, whatever they're using, like, hey, write me a novel about, I don't know, they just give a bunch of things. Crime noir, Oprah, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Poontang Pie, whatever you're putting.
Yeah.
And it writes you the thing, because everyone, like, their big thing is, well, it never could replace real writers because it only takes what already exists. Yeah, that's true. But if they take that, now they have their framework for their whole story, and all they got to do is just change some stuff.
Also, that's just kind of like what writing is.
Yeah.
You take from other things.
Yeah, so it's not like, I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's just going to replace us, and then we're going to just have to work for, shitty jobs for the rest of our lives while AI does art and movies and TV and everything.
But I don't know. Do you think it'll ever get good enough?
That's what they're trying to do. It's just now being implemented. So what's going to happen 50 years from now when it becomes sentient or whatever? I don't know. Just it's going to suck.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to live in a world where you pick up the new X-42 novel and it's just really, really good?
Yeah.
And it was written by a computer and put every sci-fi writer out of a job.
It would be terrible. But it also would be hard to argue if it was good, though.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, though. What if it's really good? It becomes really good.
Yeah.
They don't need us then.
That is the...
So what does that leave us with? We don't need to create art anymore. We have to do the... AI and robots and all this shit was supposed to replace us having to do shitty jobs. Menial labor, factory...
Driving big trucks,
any kind of fucking bullshit job. That's what it was supposed to replace. And then we could just focus on art and literature and whatever we wanted to, enjoy life. But instead, these greedy fucks made it so that does the art.
Yeah.
And we have to do the shitty shit, the shitty jobs. Like, why?
Because it's cheaper.
I don't care how cheap it is. I don't want to do the shitty job. I want the robot to do it.
No. What I'm saying is it's
I know to buy a screenplay written by a robot's free. You don't have to buy the screenplay.
Yeah.
You know what? They're making they already have TV shows, which is why the writers went on strike. Like the Writers Guild strike is because they were like, hey, let's just use AI to write some of these TV shows. And if it's working, because they're so formulaic dog shit anyway,
right?
It doesn't really matter. But then that just puts how many writers have a job. So they put in their contract, hey, not allowed to do that. Can't use AI to write the scripts for you. Need writers. And they're like, yeah. But that's the thing. If they go on strike, what if they're just, well, they went on strike, but what if the movies and TV shows eventually just go, well, fuck it. We'll just put money into this AI until it gets way better, and then we don't need any of you fucks.
Yeah, because you know that there's a big group of people, probably bigger than the people who actually care. They don't give a fuck if they're the thing that wrote their Marvel movie, if that was an actual person or if it was just fucking computers put together. Like, what I mean? Like,
they don't care at all.
As long as it's there for them to watch, they don't give a shit how.
That's why, like, a lot of people who read comic books and stuff, they don't care if the artist was real anymore. They just want, it's good art, or even if it's not that good of art, they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
because we've become so accustomed to mediocrity now that if something is just okay, that's acceptable.
It's good enough.
Yeah, like how many comics have you seen where it's like this art is very generic? Generic digital art that all looks the same.
And that's the big thing too. Is like we've had this talk before, like how technology has made things great and awesome for all the different arts, but it's also made it very shitty.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of times, like, it's not even like the art could be good, but you could put any name on it and I wouldn't know the difference because it all looks the same.
Exactly. It's just not, it's almost like not worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because it's just like we complain about the music all sounding the same. Part of that's us getting older, but a lot of it actually does sound the same because it's the same exact fucking beats from the 90s and 2000s that they just sampled. and change something, and put new lyrics to.
And we'll just like openly like, oh, this is the thing. I'm taking this old beat from this song that everybody loved. At least back like in our day, like whenever they did that, it was sneaky. It was like you would have to know your shit to be like, oh, that chorus is from this old song from like the 70s.
Well, that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
Most of the 90s music, at least like rap music and stuff, it was old 70s funk and R&B and stuff was sampled, or even older stuff, and you didn't even know because they changed it or they slowed it down or they did. Now they just straight up use the exact same song and just put different words to it.
And it will still like use the hook.
Yeah, it's just like, why? It's so lazy. But if it sells, I guess that's all that really matters. It just, at some point you have to say, when does money stop being a factor here? Because obviously, when money is involved and something sells that's complete garbage, everything's going to follow that trend until everything's garbage. So now we're getting all this stuff, like you said, with the art, like the digital art for comics. It's probably cheaper just do a bunch of digital stuff, and then it all looks the same.
Well, another thing, just especially with like the comic, is that they do like a lot of like outsourcing to like they get like a lot of I forget, but it's like one of like the Puerto Rican, Mexican like country, like Brazil, somewhere like over there, where they do that digital art. And it's just cheaper. It's like they're outsourcing, because now all you can do is you can do it, and then you can just email the page to your editor.
Because they probably have a fucking art sweatshop.
Yeah,
where it's just a bunch of like teenagers drawing for cheap money
on tablets.
Yeah, it sucks. It's atrocious, and that should be illegal.
Everybody use this, you line this thickness with this brush and whatever, so it all looks the same.
Well, all the movies are shot in the same way unless it's a specific director, but because that's one of the complaints of the Marvel movies, how formulaic they've become. But if you watch any movie after, let's just say 2010, if it's like a futuristic sci-fi dystopian type of thing, it always has like that sandy yellowish orange filter, or Blade Runner style where it's like this blue filter, or it's like whatever the genre of film that you're watching, it has some kind of filter over. Like horror movies always have like these same filters, like this blue filter, or it's just like, why does it all have to look the same? Like in the old days, we cared about the artistic merit of the film, so it was purposely shot and filmed in such a way where it would stand out on its own and couldn't be compared to something else. But now it's like, no, we want it to look like this so you know what genre you're watching.
Yeah, like as if you wouldn't know.
We're fucking idiots.
Yeah, like as you wouldn't know from the title of like, the slaughterhouse or whatever, 18, whatever. What I mean? It's like, I think I know what's going on. It's kind of like almost like if they did that like with porn, like all porn had like a purple filter as if you didn't know what you was watching by Backdoor Slots 9. Like, I wonder what this is. Oh, it's a purple filter. I know what it is now.
What if you fucked with them and you put the horror filter on? Like, this sex scene's been going on for a long time. And do horror movies normally have full penetration? I don't know about that.
It depends on what kind you like to watch.
Yeah, but anyway, going back to the artificial writing, I don't like it. I don't agree with it, and I don't, because the main thing is right now it's mostly supposed to be used for helping quicken your emails and your workflow and make your corporate letters better and make your whatever fucking articles you're writing for Bullshit Weekly. It's supposed to make them streamlined and fast and lifeless is what it's doing. You know what? If I'm writing you an email and I give such little fuck about you that I'm just having the AI write the email, then why bother?
And then also too, that's just bad for business, because it's like, then obviously the information isn't getting shared properly.
No.
Because if you haven't took the time to write the thing, what's stopping you from just highlighting and copying and pasting it without even reading the thing?
When do we get the AI reader?
Yeah.
That's just going to read it for you, and then you don't even have to, humans involed in the chain of email.
Because it would say like, oh, in the email, hey, Bob, I had sex with your wife last night. It was great. And he's just, he's doing something else. He just highlights it and sends it back, and the computer's like, oh, that's good. Great to hear it. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's just...
Bob gets it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll just have the AI read this bullshit email. And then the fucking AI writes back, oh, I love that you fucked my wife.
Yeah.
Real grand there, Ted. And then they just keep going back and forth with the AIs, and nobody knows. No human knows what conversation's happening. It's atrocious. It's abysmal. It's terrible.
Terrible.
Horrible. Awful. garbage, shit, shite, shat. Charlatan is not appropriate, but I just want to say charlatan. Because the creators of this product,
They're
these products are charlatans.
Yeah.
You fucking geeks behind your computers trying to make everything all computer animated so we don't need humans anymore. Well, you know what, buckaroo? Why couldn't you start with like the robots that take over sports?
Yeah.
Get robots playing football, and then we don't have to complain about fucking all these millionaire football players that end up killing their wives and shit.
Yeah.
Let's just have them fucking robots fight each other on the field.
Big fat lineman robots just smashing into each other.
Just blasted. We could have did that. We could have had robots on ice and have ice hockey robots.
That shitty Hugh Jackman movie when he was like the boxing robot.
Punching robot, rock'em sock'em robots.
Yeah, you
Real Steel, I think was the name of it.
Yeah, but you do that. You have the players off field somewhere doing the shit, and then you have the fucking robots.
So you still have some skill that has to be involved.
Well, yeah,
but they don't have to take the brunt force in the traumatic brain injury anymore.
Oh, this TCE.
But no, we don't do that. What we do, take away the arts.
Yeah.
I can't wait to. You know what? I want to read some AI poetry. Maybe we'll do that next week. Read some AI poetry. What if it's great?
Yeah.
Or what if we're too stupid to realize the difference?
Well, I will be. I don't know what good poetry is.
Anyway, we have a show about writing today.
Yeah.
That'll go into
new.
It'll go into how we could beat the AI, Spencer.
Okay.
By being better than the AI. Can we do it?
Can we just smash it?
We'll find out. We can't smash the AI because it gets once it gets sentient, it smashes us. You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me today, Spencer, the Ecuadorian Eagle Eradicator Church.
Oh, why do I gotta be eating eagles?
I was going to say equalizer, like the Denzel Washington movie, but I didn't know exactly what that means.
I just, take out the bad eagles.
Probably the same as
instead of just taking out all eagles, I can just take
eradicating them.
Yeah.
I could have said erecting, but I don't know what that means. Like form them into a statue?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Stack them on top of each other.
Stack them damn eagles.
I'm always worried whenever you don't like go to the wheel, go to the globe, or talk about it for a second. When you just come up with the cuff with the name and all, those always have me on edge a little bit.
Yeah, it makes you quiver a little.
Like, what's this gonna be this time?
Makes you get a little tickly in your pants.
Yeah, well, that's something else.
Ooh, that's your willy. Ooh, boy. You know what we're talking about today?
We were gonna be keeping on the AI thing. You said
nope.
No. You lied.
Nope. I said we were gonna discuss how we could beat the AI.
Beat the AI.
You know how you beat the AI?
How's that?
Use these 8 tips for improving your writing style.
Okay. Well, like I said, before we get into that, I got a little business that you'll actually be wanting to hear about. So the past 2 days, I finally completed and read those short stories you sent me weeks ago that are probably too late for anything if you wanted me to check out before submitting them to anything.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
The light bulb story.
Okay.
And then Jupiter's Ascent.
Oh, right. Yeah. I already sent those off, and I edited them again, so they're a little different.
But
especially the Jupiter's Ascent. I think I actually changed the ending a little bit, cleaned it up, but the light bulb story, that might have been pretty close to, I might have polished it up a little, but
they both seemed pretty.
I hope they have promise somewhere, Spencer.
Well, because my original thing was going to be like, oh, I read them, and, I was hoping you were going to be like, oh, well, how were they? And I'd be like, well, Caleb, I found them very shallow and pedantic.
Oh, I just assumed that anyway, so I don't even ask. I just assumed they're terrible.
Well, if we can get off, we can talk more about that if you want, like, off air, because I feel you probably don't want to talk about the actual stories too much.
As soon as we get off air, don't send those anywhere. If you send them anywhere, take them back. They're terrible. Nobody's gonna like them.
Garbage.
Fucking
looks like AI wrote them.
Fucking AI wrote that bullshit. Yeah, we could talk about that later. So Spencer.
Yes.
Did we cover this before? I feel like we have.
Probably
last year at the exact same day.
Yes, probably.
Well, did you know there are 4 types of writing style, Spencer?
I think so. Maybe not. I might not have known 4.
Well, the first one is a word I can't say. Expository writing. I guess I can't say
Yeah, you
it.
did say that word.
An expository writing style is used for delivering facts and information rather than storytelling. Examples of expository writing include nonfiction books, scientific writings, technical writing, blah, blah, news articles. You get it.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
The boring stuff.
That's not really what we're here to talk about, but that would go with the AI because a lot of people are using AI for that specifically.
Yeah.
Nonfiction stuff, because I'm sure AI is not very good at the fiction yet, but the nonfiction, it can cobble together some bullshit.
Yeah, just facts and figures.
Another thing we didn't touch upon is what are schools going to do about this? I already know a lot of places I submit to specifically say in their guidelines, it just started in like the last 2 months. No AI at all. Do not take it. I don't know how they can know, though.
Yeah.
So how would school know that you didn't write something?
Well, I thought there was some kind of like software or something that you could use to like that would like.
But what if you did the AI, copied and pasted it to Word doc, printed it out, scanned it, and
Or just retyped it.
Or just retyped it by hand, copied by hand. Like, yeah, I don't see how. I don't think it would know unless. No, I don't see how unless there's an AI specifically built to find out the answer to that.
Especially like little fucking shitty schools like we went to.
Yeah, they're not gonna fucking even care. They probably don't even make them write essays anymore and shit in school anyway.
Like essay, he just went to the bathroom.
Jose. Number 2, descriptive writing.
Yes.
You know what that is? Writing that's descriptive.
Details?
A descriptive style uses figurative language and sensory details to paint a picture in a reader's mind. Poets use this type of writing style in their work. So now we're getting close to what we do, Spencer. You know what we do? Number 3, narrative writing. Narrative style has a plot, characters, and setting, and is used in creative writing. It is the style writers use to craft a novel, novella, screenplay. We all get it. They use The Shining as an example, by the way.
Look, I feel like we use like the last one too.
Oh yeah, we're not dullards. If you want to be a good writer, you got to use a little bit of all of these. Number 4, persuasive writing. A persuasive writing style tries to influence readers to adopt the writer's point of view. Think of debates. That's all you're doing. You know why you should be an anti-vaxxer or a pro-vaxxer? Here's why.
Yep.
And then you just write a whole fake bullshit article about whatever your topic is. People will follow. But now we're going on to the actual 8 tips.
Okay.
For improving your writing style. You know what number 1 is?
What?
Be direct.
Yeah.
You have to be direct in your writing. Are you direct in your writing? Do you say what you mean? You mean what you say?
For the most part.
Good writing is clear and concise. Lose filler words like unnecessary adverbs and prepositional phrases. Simply take up space and wait. Okay, they want you to be Hemingway.
Yeah.
Get rid of all them. You got some filler words. These are the kind of things, once you master these 8 tips, you could start breaking them at your leisure.
Yeah.
Because if you said, be direct with your writing, that takes pretty much everything before 1920 out of the picture, right?
Yeah.
That's most flowery Victorian writing and everything that's considered great, from the Russian writers to even F. Scott Fitzgerald. So you can't just say, just be specifically direct. That's more of a modern invention, often accredited to Hemingway's writing style, because he went by the number 1 thing of writing, which was the news style, because he was a journalist. Number 2, choose your words wisely. This isn't one we got to break down. Obviously, you got to pick the right word.
Pick the right word.
My recommendation is do not immediately go to the thesaurus. When you're especially when you're writing your first draft, try to use the word that comes to you first or second. Those are usually the best ones. And then when you go back, usually what I will do is I'll add a fancier $5 word here and there. If I realize I use one word too many times, or it comes up, twice in the same paragraph or something like that, then I'll change it.
Though it probably wouldn't hurt to have because I'm sure there's some kind of like thesaurus like app or something you could have on your phone for after those, the first couple drafts.
Well, if you just highlight the word, if you use Grammarly, it comes up.
True.
Number 3, short sentences are more powerful than long sentences. I disagree. I think it just depends on what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
They say a story loses steam with wordiness. Again, the Victorian writers, you're out of here. Proust, we're not reading you no mo. I agree to disagree here. I think short sentences are important, but if you're, which we've read books that are all short sentences, you feel like you're just like, your mind just like stops functioning. You're like, this is fucking bland.
Yeah.
We need varied sentences. Is that better? You think varied sentences would be better?
Yeah, not a yeah, like you said, varied.
So you have short and concise, and then you can have every once in a while you throw in a page-long paragraph or something. Like, you could do that sparingly. Number 4. Oh, I don't know about this. Write short paragraphs. We've talked about my disdain for the 3 sentence paragraph rule.
Yeah.
Let's see if they mention that. Each one should consist of sentences that support the same idea, blah, blah, blah. Basically, you do want whatever your paragraph is to be about the same topic. If you're going to switch a topic, immediately, go to the next paragraph. So if you're, I don't know, let's say you're talking about a guy's hat and describing the hat, it's a short paragraph. Well, once you go on to describing, somebody else's hat or somebody else's shoes or whatever, maybe you want a break because you don't want it to muddle together.
Right.
But at the same time, for things like that, you could probably get away with doing short paragraphs, whereas some important details might be, again, longer paragraphs serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Varied paragraphs is where I would go. I don't like the uniform writing style that the modern writing circles that spout these kinds of nonsensical articles and tips on how to be a great writer. They're too formulaic. I don't like that they say you should have this form style where everyone writes the same. You pick up any new Barnes & Noble or book at Barnes & Noble, and it's like it looks the same.
Yeah. It also depends on pacing as well. Because if you're doing maybe like a thriller or an action scene or something
short,
like that,
fast,
to get
crime
it
noir.
Going, you go through, you read a page in like a whole page in like a minute because of how quick and it's going. It's
now,
giving you that.
Imagine you're doing hard sci-fi and you try to do that when you have these, you're trying to describe how thruster ion engines work and stuff. You can't. The short, punchy sentences are not going to work for that, and you're going to. You have to know what you're writing, and you have to know your audience. Use a natural conversational tone. I think that's pretty obvious. If your characters come across as wooden or. We always make fun of like the little kid who sounds like a college professor.
Yeah, or the other way around.
Or a college professor that sounds like a dullard. And this also extends to, your personal narration and everything like that. You want everything to flow smoothly. Basically, you have to read a lot to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
That's not something most people, I think, come across naturally, because when you're writing, your first instinct is to just stretch out like, oh, I really wanted this person, like whatever they're talking about or whatever I'm trying to describe, I really want the reader to get it, so you almost overwrite it. Even if it's short, you go back and be like, oh, they would just say okay. They wouldn't say, okay, alrighty then, Mr. Buckshot. Like, they wouldn't do that.
Well, narration, you brought up an interesting thing because, and this would be a good time for you to ask you, since you just got done with different seasons. Have you noticed in, like any of the Stephen King stuff that you've read, that like a lot of times the narrator is like its own separate, it's almost like a character that's not involved in the story at all, and the character or the narrator might even have like not even so much like because like a lot of times with the narration it's just kind of like a bland, it's like it doesn't have, it's just like kind of like the words. But like a lot of times Stephen King with his narrations, and they'll be like, and then Terry the fat fuck who didn't want, like, you know what I mean? And then it kind of helps the reader like be like, oh, I don't like Terry. He is a fat fuck. He doesn't do nothing.
Well, that's like Stephen King's personal voice. It seems like it bleeds through, but it depends on the story. For like Shawshank, it's Red's telling the story.
Yeah. So
that you get Red's feelings and emotions. The Body, that was one of the kids who grew up to be a writer. So he's telling the story. But I think like Apt Pupil and the one with the old man, the breathing technique or whatever. Breathing method. Those were more along what you're talking about, where it's like his narration kind of shifts to almost the person closest to the action.
Yeah.
So the breathing method is about like this old guy. He's like a lawyer, goes into this club in his house in Brooklyn or somewhere. And it's like all these old guys and they're just like telling stories and shit. But everything that's described in that, even though I don't remember if that's specifically narrated from the old guy's perspective. I don't think it is, but the narration mirrors the way he thinks. So it's like, oh, if I'm reading this, I'm thinking the old guy, and that's why I can't remember, because I don't think it was first person. So now I'm thinking it's like, maybe it was first person.
It's been a while since I've read it. So
But I've read Stephen King stories before where he'll utilize that where it's third person, but the narration is done in such a way where whoever, is talking and is going through the action, the narration almost goes as if it's them doing the narrating, even though they're not. So like you brought up, Terry's a fat fuck or whatever. Like that would be the person that's closest to that action or whoever's in that scene. You could almost picture, oh yeah, that's Big Biff. He's the one who's thinking that, even though it's not. But a lot of the times that's probably just Stephen King like throwing his author voice in there. Number 8, read famous authors, and that's the end of the list.
Well, I mean,
I already said that one. Read a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I wouldn't necessarily stick it to famous because like I think we've learned or have picked up some tricks just from reading like not famous, even like reading some I've read a little bit more of his now, but like Paulie Cooley, like he's not famous by any means, but he has like a decent following and he's been doing it for a while, and I feel like checking his stuff out, you can notice things and still learn things. It doesn't have to be the famous authors.
Well, just with like the paragraphs vary. You got to have a variety. So with the authors you pick, you can go with famous authors, is that what you want, but just a variety of authors, specifically authors that write in specific genres.
Yeah,
I think would help because then you get a large smattering of different voices, storytelling styles, narration, and you can almost take what you want out of all of those, which we've done over the years, and kind of form your own style from, cobble together your own style. So I think that list was fairly solid, though. I don't like like I said, I don't like the tried and true formulaic writing style that modern writers have taken on. And I'm sure in the old Victorian days, up till the 1930s or so, they probably had a formulaic style with the flowery language.
Yeah.
And then it was when you had like the postmodernists and your James Joyces and Faulkners. They're the ones that really Virginia Woolf started experimenting and doing all kinds of wacky shit that people imitated later, but at the time they were the only ones like trying this stuff. Whether that works or not is, up to that's taste.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until like Hemingway was a big one that people copied because they think, oh, I don't have to be good at writing.
Yeah.
Because he comes like when just at a first read, if you don't look deeper into it, it seems very simple.
Is that you wouldn't think that would be a hard thing to copy?
Yeah, it seems like you can mimic it fairly easy.
But then once you get into the trenches, you're like, oh no, there's a lot that goes into this.
I just told a really boring story with no meaning because I just wrote like Hemingway, but I didn't write Hemingway.
Like I'd have to assume I don't know a whole bunch about Hemingway. Like I mean, we watched that documentary and stuff like that, but I'm sure like his first drafts weren't like super short or anything. I'm sure they were probably a little bit more wordy, and like in the editing is where he brought it down probably.
Well, apparently he was like a habitual editor where he was like constantly, even if it was just a single word, he would like take a day and just keep changing it until he came up with the perfect word or phrase. I want to say it's The Sun Also Rises, but it could be A Farewell to Arms, where the ending, I think the girl asked him a question or something, and he replies with, don't you think it's, what was it? I lost it.
And say I have no idea.
Here, you ramble off.
Yeah, and say I'm not I don't think I've ever read any Hemingway. You got me that the one PBS. Was that a collection of short stories? Is that what that is?
Yeah, the PBS collection.
So yeah, I still never got around to checking any of those out.
Okay, I got it.
You got it. Okay, good.
It's The Sun Also Rises. It ends with the line, "Isn't it pretty to think so?" And
that
the
took
word
him forever.
Yeah, because like to come up with, don't you think it's pretty to think so? Like that's a weird thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think it's pretty to think so? Like people don't use pretty in that manner. Yeah. Don't you think it's cool to? I don't know. It's just like he, I guess, went through a lot of edits on the word pretty until he came up with that, and then like that's the one everyone remembers, except for me because I forgot.
Yeah,
but that's the one everyone talks about. And even if like the one Hemingway podcast I listen to, they always ask them like to pick the one true sentence, and they have them pick their favorite Hemingway sentence, and everyone picks that one, and it's like it stuck out because he was so choosy with that specific phrase and that one word. He deliberated on that word for so long until he was able to finally get it, and it just stuck out.
And also the placing of that word. Mm-hmm. Like, because what did you say?
You don't think it's you don't think it's pretty, or like, isn't it pretty to think so?
Yeah, instead of like the more common one would probably be like, I don't know, but like, like
it's like a pretty thought
or something like that. Yeah, it's not the proper way that sentence.
Or like a lot of people just say, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice?" Or "Don't you think? Isn't it nice to think so?" Or something like that. They don't use pretty. Yeah, but like just the word choices. I try to do that in my work, but I do get bogged down a lot because I'll go back and I'm like, "Damn it, what this word is not hitting me right." And then I'll like really try to deliberate on it and work at it, and then sometimes I just get sick of it and don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, Spencer, that's how you beat the AI. You just follow those tips.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, you just follow those tips.
Can't the AI follow those tips?
Oh, we were ranting on modern writers. That's right. So a lot of writers, though, mimicked Hemingway. And then, like, Kurt Vonnegut got famous, so they tried to mimic his satirist style.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if a lot of people have tried to mimic Cormac McCarthy. Because Cormac McCarthy kind of cribbed Faulkner style. So you have to be a genius to be able to do that, like to actually do it well. So I think a lot of people, I'm sure there's some people who've been inspired by McCarthy and try to take his style, but that's not a style you can do for most of us. I know a lot of people started trying to write like David Foster Wallace.
Oh, why?
I don't know, because they like it and they just, I guess you write like what you like.
I guess.
So if you get a style that you really enjoy, but Stephen King's obviously a huge one. How many people would probably try to style? I think every writer goes through, like modern writer goes through their Stephen King phase where it's like, oh, I'm going to write stories. I want to write like that because it reads so well.
Especially like if they're fans.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of times you hear like comedians when they're first starting out doing like open mics and just getting their footing, that like, they're like, it took me like a year to realize that I was just fucking doing another guy. Like I was
another
just
guy's
doing
whole bit.
Yeah,
or just a style.
Or how that guy would do that thing. Like, you know what I mean? So again, it's you ingest all this stuff and it affects how you do your art.
There are a lot of people who get into music, and what's the first thing they start singing before they even write their own songs? A lot of the time, famous songs that they like.
Yeah.
And they try to mimic, their famous singers to see, can I sing like that? Should I sing like this? Yeah, that is how you learn. And that same painting's another one. A lot of people go through I went through my Jackson Pollock painting stage. I went through my whatever. Just like I went through my Goya stage. Like you just go through different various stages until you find your style.
Well, I remember whenever like I was younger and like and with my art, whenever I was actually pretty decent at it, and I would start, I was fucking drawing the fucking cover of whatever DBZ VHS cassette that I had. Like, you know what I mean? I'm looking at it, I'm just trying to get it as close as possible to it, and then then that kind of moved into like, I really like this Spider-Man cover. I'm going to try to draw it, but it always turns out shit because I have trouble drawing Spider-Man.
Everyone does.
It's the fucking costume. It's so awesome, but it's so difficult.
Yeah, and thank Todd McFarlane for making it even more difficult.
Right.
Let's have more lines. So anyway, folks, we hope you took something away from that, and that is, don't let the AI overlords take over.
Yes.
Don't do it. Just don't let it happen. Just don't buy it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Be like Caleb. When Google sends you the beta testing for the AI software that could do my writing for me and get me published, I said no.
Yeah.
I just said no. That's all you have to do. You playing around with the ChatGPT, and you're like, maybe I'll try to write some poems with it. I'm not a poet. I just want to see what it comes up with. Hey, this isn't too bad. Maybe I should submit it. No. Don't go into those baser urges. Don't think, fame and fortune awaits me if I abuse this system and get over on the actual working man. You know what AI is? It's fucking steroids for writers.
Yo, yeah.
It's what it is. It's steroids for those who aren't good enough at the sport originally, but if they roid up, they could get over the hump. So maybe you're just good enough to maybe get published here and there, but you're not even a Stephen King level. Like you're like a guy who could tell an okay story, and maybe you can get a little bit of a following, but you can't get any real sales. No publishers are really paying attention to you. So what do? You touch up a little bit of your work with some AI here and there. I'm not abusing it. I just want to even the playing field, Spencer. I'm just going to take a couple paragraphs of this. That's all. But then slowly you get lazier as you get more popular. and then eventually it's writing the whole shit for you. You're juiced to the gills. Your
Right.
neck is so big you can't breathe at night, and you die of sleep apnea.
And then
Is that what you want?
Yes, but besides that, because the thing is, like, because it'd even be one thing, like, if it was like, hey, this is just the future where we're gonna have writers and AI merged together. It's gonna be a unique sequence of thing, but no, it's gonna be like we're merging together until the AI just slowly engulfs it all, and then there's nothing. Like, you know what I mean? It would be like one thing, like I was saying, if you could somehow figure out a system where, like, it is actually like, you know, writers using AI to help figure things out, or maybe you got a block, a scene you can't quite figure out. Maybe it can help you do that. But like I said, it's like a symbiote. It's going to use you until it doesn't need you anymore.
Spencer, we already use a little bit of AI.
Yeah.
We Grammarly software.
Yep.
It's fixing our minor typos and our grammatical errors.
Things you didn't even know was there.
And I think that's where we should draw the line. It doesn't need to go beyond that.
Yeah.
We don't need
spell check.
The computer telling us how to write. Even the Grammarly and the Hemingway editor and some other different editors, they get on my nerves because
they want you to change the sentence. And
stuff. A lot of times they'll like, oh, this is a better way to say it. And you know what? In my most recent story, it did that. And it didn't make any sense, the suggestion it tried to make.
Really?
Like, it actually made, because sometimes they'll change the paragraph. Oh, rearrange the words and make it sound and flow better. And sometimes it does. This time, it literally did not make it it made no sense. Whatever I said was so great that this fucking stupid AI could not make sense of it and thought it was wrong and changed the words. So it just didn't make any sense. Like, it was just jumbled nonsense. And I was like, ha, I broke you. Fuck you. So I only use it for mainly punctuation, spelling errors, and some grammar errors. But I'm so good now, Spencer. I generally don't have too many of that stuff. And usually the ones it doesn't catch are the ones that aggravate me the most when you use a word that's spelled right, but it's like there, but it's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just, like every once in a while they're not, or like another one that gets me a lot. It never ever did before, but for some reason in the last couple of years is your or possessive you or not. You are.
Yeah.
So your and your, possessive your or you are. For some reason, I just put your all the time now. Not all the time, but every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, I didn't add the apostrophe. But it never catches that.
You're in the flow of typing. You're not paying attention.
I think I'm getting dementia.
Yeah.
Me and Biden and Trump can all go on a plane together and talk about
play video games.
Play
video games.
Anyway, folks, we thank you for listening, and eventually we're going to use AI to do the podcast so we don't have to, so stick around for that.
Oh, wouldn't that be awesome if we could just take our voices from all the
and
episodes
just create
and just be like, okay, we're going to talk in an episode about this, and it just takes that stuff. That'd be great.
That'd be fucking dope. It'd be dope. So you could check us out at DPW Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and maybe if we could ever get on like Blue Sky or Threads. I don't want Threads. Because you can't delete Threads or delete your Instagram. So I'm not getting on.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm not getting on there. But because Twitter is garbage. I'm just going to say it. Twitter has gone to the shit heap of humanity. It is the worst. So I would like to, I don't even use any of the fucking shit barely. Just post the podcast, but it's all garbage. You can check out Spencer's OnlyFans. He is the Ecuadorian fucking eagle eradicator.
Yeah.
Really? That's what you went with?
That's what you went with.
Like bald eagles? Because that's a felony.
That's what I was worried about.
And you can check my work out at calebjamesk.com. Hey, I actually have a book I'm being published in coming out in October, but I'm not going to mention it until the promo starts. So wait months, forget all about anything I said, and then I'll promote it eventually.
Yeah.
But I do have a story that got accepted. Spencer, that lucky son of a bitch, has to wait a whole fucking year almost. You got to wait till next year. Sucks.
Yep.
Should have wrote a longer story, fucko.
Maybe.
So anyway, we thank you for listening, and we will check you out next week.